Hi, I am Michelle Rowan, President and CEO of Franchise Business Review. And today I get to talk with Amanda Day, a franchisee with Spoiled Rotten Photography, and she's been with them about 18 months. So, Amanda, thanks so much for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Amanda, start with kind of what you were doing before you joined the franchise system. Were you working and kind of what led you to decide to look for a new opportunity?
Yeah, so I did work. First job out of college, I worked for a mutual funds company and I was there for 16 years. So quite different than what I'm doing now. I just knew that it wasn't really what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then what kind of got me looking into it was my daughter, who was in preschool, came home with her photos. And I had been doing photography on the side while I worked at the mutual fund company. And I'm a mom of 3 kids, so it took up a lot of time working full time during the week, usually more than 40 hours, like 50 hours ish a week. And then doing what I liked, photography on the side on the weekends, didn't leave a lot of extra time for the kids. So my daughter came home from preschool with her preschool photos and I was like, that would be fun. I would do that. So then that's kind of what started getting me to looking into different franchises.
So you immediately went to franchising. There wasn't a thought that you wanted to do it on your own. I just find that a lot of people just think of like McDonald's or Friendly's, like those larger brand names.
Yes, because I actually, like years ago, had a friend who was like, why don't you just do like the preschool photos at my daughter's school? And I was like, I don't know how I would go about all that. And like so many logistics when it's like large quantities, it just seemed kind of overwhelming to even go about all the tasks that I would have to do. So I kind of shut it down really quick, doing it on my own. And then when she came home with it, I was just like, why don't I look at franchises that would kind of lead me in the way so I'm not so overwhelmed in doing it. And so
Awesome.
That's what I found.
So when you decided to start looking at franchises, how long was that discovery process and where did you start? How did you go about finding what franchises were out there for you?
Just Google. I went and I just searched all the companies around, but the process was actually fairly quick. I would say it was springtime. I don't know exactly when I started looking. And then, I had met with like a couple, but as soon as I met with Melissa, who is the owner of Spoiled Rotten Photography and started it, I feel like we just clicked. It was somebody that I would want to be friends with. Your values align and they're there. Like every time I had a question or text her, she didn't leave me hanging. So it was, someone I could trust, and we just kind of grew a friendship from there.
Awesome. So what do you think that whole time frame was when you Googled it to when you signed?
I would say 2 to 3 months, probably.
Okay, that's awesome. And then when you came on board with Spoiled Rotten Photography, did you leave your job full time? Was that a requirement to do the franchise, or were you able to start the franchise while you were still employed?
Um, it's not a requirement to do it full time. I wanted to do it full time. And I was kind of fortunate enough to go into this situation because they had a corporate account and there was no one else in Missouri, and that's where I'm located. So I had enough schools where I could go full time. So I left my job and then started this. And during the summer is kind of our slower season. So I worked through the summer to kind of train other people in my other position, and then was able to leave them in a good spot to start this and kick it off full gear in August.
Awesome. So you said that you were a photographer as well. So when you started the franchise, were you doing the pictures as well? And do you have any employees? Did you have any employees when you started, and do you have employees now?
I did not have any employees when I started. It was just me, usually like with friends or family, who wanted new photos. And I do have employees now. I am the only photographer currently, but I have a handful of assistants that work with me and go to schools and help me set up and get the kids to laugh and stuff. So
awesome. Okay. So what is your day-to-day like then? How much are you spending doing the actual photography versus what are the other parts of your business that you mentioned that they gave you, or they have a corporate account? How much are you finding new business on your own versus how much is the corporate team helping in that?
So right now I am trying to get a few more accounts on my own, but it's not nothing as overwhelming as I think I thought that it would be on my own. But I mean, I have a pretty full season, so I think it helps when you're not stressed about it. You're just like, oh, hey, there's a preschool. Let me go introduce myself, to pop in and say, hey, and get schools that way. What was the first part of your question, though? I feel like there was.
So what is your day-to-day like? Like, is the majority of your time doing the actual photography, or what other parts of the business are you doing each day?
So a general day, I would go to a school and I would shoot from like 7 to noon, try to wrap up before kids are getting messy with their lunches and stuff. And then I come home, upload the photos that I took that day, and then I edit them in the afternoon. So it's kind of about the same time commitment as working, a full-time job, because I'm editing all afternoon. But then I get my kids off the bus. So it's nice I'm home in the afternoon, or I know I can schedule things in the afternoon. And then I try to send the photos out within 48 hours ish of shooting the kids, and then people can order from there, and everything else is done online. So after that, it's just a matter of submitting photos to the lab or answering questions, which isn't really too time consuming, I wouldn't say.
That's great. So what has been the best thing about your transition from corporate world to owning your own franchise?
Lots of things, but my favorite thing, I would have to say, is this last summer was like the best summer of my adult life, because I didn't have to worry about like daycare for my kids and all of those types of things. It was just us, and we could go to the pool, or we could go to my mom's house and visit, their grandma for a week if we wanted to, those types of things. It was really fun, and that we got to be like relaxed together and, build all those memories that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was working corporate.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And is there anything that you wish that you had known before you bought the franchise that would just be helpful for other people to think about?
This isn't knowing thing, but I would say don't overthink things, maybe a little more advice giving, because I am a person who very much I like knowing how much I'm going to make. And all of those types of things that might steer someone away, or, taxes, things like that you're not used to doing on your own. If you're looking into a franchise where you align and it's with, the people that you would be working with, you trust them, and it's something that you're passionate about, you can see yourself doing for years to come, go for it. Why not? You live once, don't overthink it, because that was me like years ago when someone was like, oh, hey, you should do that. I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that. No thanks, kind of thing. So I would just say, follow your dreams.
Yeah, no, that's great. So do you think that it's important to be a photographer to become a franchisee in the brand? Or is there other skills that you think are a need to have to join the franchise brand?
I think just a people person, and being, we're with kids, that's kind of our jam. So you have to be able to, kids have all different emotions, and be able to be patient with them, and that type of thing. You don't have to be a photographer. There's amazing training that you go through with Spoiled Rotten. It's a couple of weeks about training. So you go through shooting inside, using flash, all the different things. So you don't have to be a photographer to go into this.
Awesome. And do you feel like you have a good connection with the other franchisees that are in the brand? Are you able to meet with them or talk with them as far as going through the same type of challenges or best practice sharing that is happening within the businesses?
Yeah. So each year we have a conference, so you get to meet everybody in person. So last year was my first time going, and I think they thought it was funny, but I felt like it was like an adult camp kind of thing. Like, it was really fun. We stayed up late talking. We had agenda during the day, but it reminded me of like cheerleading camp when I was in high school. Like, you get excited to go. We're actually going again in February, and I'm super excited for it. So it was great to build those relationships in person. But before that, we have a group Facebook page. So anytime anybody's in a pickle or has a question, or maybe a parent asks you something that you haven't dealt with yet, you're bouncing ideas off each other all the time. It's very active, and it really does help make it feel like more of a family. Like, we're all in this together. No one's alone floating out there. So
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, is there any other advice that you have for someone that's researching franchising? Or I know that one of the hardest questions, and you mentioned it, is trying to figure out how much money you can make. So is there any idea on how you got to that number, or any advice that you have for a person that's looking at a specific franchise brand or just franchising in general?
yeah. So it was kind of further through the process before I was able to like see numbers, because they can't just share that with everybody. So I did evaluate those once I had the ability to, but before that, I actually got all of the contact information from the other franchise owners, and I called them individually. And not that it was just about money, it was just about, what's your day-to-day like? What do you love most? And then, are you able to, support your family? And I would say, like, I made this much prior to, do you think that that's a realistic, goal for me to set? And it was great, because almost everybody I talked to would be like, oh yeah, you can do that. You just gotta, and gave me ideas for things. If you don't have a school, you can go work with PTAs, or, other brainstorming ideas that I might not have thought of on my own to meet the goals I've set. So
I think that's a really great piece of advice, because I think sometimes it's hard to get current franchise owners to open up about the financial side. So you establishing what your expectation is and asking them is that realistic is a great way to kind of get at that and understand, are you on the right track? Because you want to have realistic expectations. So I think that's a great way to present it, and they won't be threatened by it or feel like they're spilling too much, but to just say, yeah, you're way off, or absolutely, or year 2, year 3, you would be able to hit that. Yeah, that's great. So how about any challenging parts of your days or parts of running the business? You had mentioned kind of the tax side, but it sounds like maybe you're finding outside partners that can help you with that, or anything that's hard in your day-to-day of running a business.
I mean, little kids who are in stranger danger and scared of me is kind of probably usually the most challenging part of my day, but
you don't seem very scary.
I know, I'm pretty nice, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of usually it. It's not too
getting them to smile.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Goofy with them though.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So we've kind of covered your journey through discovery and owning the business. Is there anything else that you want to share with somebody that's considering Spoiled Rotten Photography specifically, or franchising in general?
Spoiled Rotten Photography, we're a great family of people, all supportive of each other. So I would recommend, I wish I would have done it like 10 years prior, and then I think for anybody looking into franchises, if it's something that you're passionate about, why not,
Yeah, I love it. Well, so nice to meet you and talk with you, Amanda. Thanks so much for your time today.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.